You don't have to be in love with the candidate. You know what I'm saying? That's that expression. A vote is not a Valentine. Word up. You're not declaring your love for the rest of your life. You're not proposing. None of that. You're just voting. And you need to
Exactly.
go out and vote. We need numbers. We need ridiculous numbers. We need ridiculous numbers if we're going to
We
do
need
that.
young people. We need young people to declare their future.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because what we're seeing right now, especially in the Black community, and this is people before politics. This is us talking, Black Westchester, that there are gatekeepers in the Black community that don't want to see change. They don't want to see change for our young people. And we need young people to come out and vote and take their future in their hands. These are people that have been in office for 30, 40, 50 years. 50 years. Like, come on, man. Like, we need young people to step up and take their future in their hands in the political process. Let me tell you, I talked to somebody deep in the Democratic Party, and they said, young people don't vote. This is why they're betting on George Lattimore to win, because they bet that young people, especially young Black and brown people, they don't come out and vote. So this is our time to say, no, we do come out and vote, and we do understand that this is our future, and we're not allowing people to do what they do to mess up the future of democracy for younger people. So, and this is why we wanted to have that show. Man, look, I know this is very important, because if I will show you where I'm at, and I'm coming live just to bring my brother on so he could talk about the importance of coming out and vote, this is serious. So let's not waste any time. I want to bring on my brother, the current congressman of CD16, my brother, Jamaal Bowman. When they
fresh off the Stephen Colbert show.
No, wait. I tell people all the time, when I was running in office in Mount Vernon, and the whole Democratic Party came after me, they didn't see Jamaal come through the pack.
They were so worried about Damon.
The spook who sat at the door. The spook who sat.
Exactly.
They were so worried about Damon, they didn't see you coming.
Exactly. But welcome, brother, man, and thank you for giving us this time, man, to come on so we could have this interview with you, and we could spread it throughout social media after, because I think a lot of people in CD16, and especially people of color, don't know what's at stake, and why they are getting so many mailers, right? Mailer after mailer after mailer, and they don't understand that these MAGA Republicans are spending $20 million to get you out of office because you're representing our interests, man. Go ahead and I'll give you the stage.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for opening up the door to this conversation. Yeah, man. I mean, this is the most expensive congressional primary in U.S. history. I want to say that again. This is the most expensive congressional primary in U.S. history. And it is mostly funded by billionaire MAGA Republicans. Billionaire MAGA Republicans are now spending record amounts of money in Democratic primaries so they can influence the elections by buying the seat away from the working class people in a particular district, because they want Democrats like my opponent in office, who are never going to challenge their power and who are never going to put front and center young people and people of color as part of their politics. Since I got elected, since I was running, before y'all even knew who I was, I have been serving working class black and brown people in education first, when I was a teacher and school counselor and dean of students and middle school principal for 20 years. And then since I started running and now in Congress, I unapologetically center marginalized people, and particularly young people and people of color. Why? Because if we don't respond to the needs of the most marginalized, we do not have a democracy.
That's
and
right.
if you need proof, look at who might be president again right now, because our democracy has been taken over by special interest billionaires who literally have members of Congress in their pocket, bought and paid for. And my opponent, unfortunately, regardless of who he was, right now he is bought and paid for by the special interest AIPAC, who, one, don't want me speaking up for Black and brown people here and don't care about these issues because their number one issue is Israel. And two, they don't want me speaking up for Palestinian human rights and criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel.
Right. That's right.
Period. That's why they're running my opponent in this race. It's not because of, a vote I took here or a vote I took there. I'm definitely not against Biden. As a freshman, I brought Biden to the district, to Yonkers, and shared the stage with him to help Governor Hochul get elected. I've ridden Air Force One and Marine One with President Biden, where he was sharing notes from the speech he was going to give at Westchester Community College. Like, what are we talking about? So they're bombarding people with lies and misrepresentation on the ads and in the mailers, and they're trying to buy this election. And thank God, the majority of people I speak to are not with that. They're not going for the okie doke. They're not going for the lies. But we need everybody to understand that this is crap. This is BS. They're trying to buy this seat, and we got to stick together and not let that happen.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is, brother, and I want to let you expound on this because we see the mailers with all the lies and the fact that you're against Biden. I want you to explain because when I tell people, they get it, but I want it to come out your mouth why you voted against the bill and what was taken out that benefited Black and brown people and poor people in Westchester County.
Yeah, let's speak specifically about the infrastructure bill. So that was not Biden's full agenda. Biden's full agenda included universal child care, universal pre-K, paid leave, historic investments in affordable housing, which we need desperately, increases in SSI, and historic investments in home care. That was Biden's full agenda. In the last second, conservative Democrats strong-armed it and made us vote on the infrastructure bill without Biden's full agenda. So our no vote on that bill was to hold the Senate accountable and negotiate in a way where the Senate had to move forward with the president's full agenda, which included all the other things I just mentioned. Because unfortunately, Joe Manchin killed President Biden's full agenda. So we kept fighting, negotiating, and pushing forward, and we got the Inflation Reduction Act, which is historic investments in climate justice, historic investments in, historic legislation in terms of freezing insulin costs at $35 a month, freezing prescription drug costs for seniors at $2,000 per year, and allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. What happens in Congress is we pass these major pieces of legislation, but they leave Black people out, they leave Latinos out, they leave seniors out, they leave children out. That's what that infrastructure bill did. 97% of the benefits of that infrastructure bill go towards white men, and it leaves out Black people, people of color, women, marginalized people, seniors, and our children. And so people need to understand, Congress has been operating this status quo way for years. And we wonder why we don't got what we deserve in our communities. Because you got people there just voting with the status quo. I am never going to negotiate or leave seniors behind in place of roads, bridges, and tunnels. Of course I support roads, bridges, and tunnels. Who doesn't? But what about our seniors, our children, our family, and our babies? That was Biden's full agenda. And his chief of staff, Ron Klain, said it. Progressives were pushing Biden's full agenda, like me. And that's how we got the Inflation Reduction Act. And so, again, that's what happened with that bill. But in terms of working with Biden, I was one of only 2 freshmen on the conference committee negotiating the Chips and Science Act. I wrote personally multiple amendments to the Chips and Science Act, which was Biden's signature piece of legislation, bringing manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. I wrote part of that bill, the parts that focus on community wealth building, regional tech hubs, and worker cooperatives. I wrote that with President Biden. I worked with President Biden along with Elizabeth Warren to create the Renters' Bill of Rights that the White House just created. I've worked with President Biden to ban ghost guns across the country. We wrote him a letter after the young kid Julian was killed in New Rochelle, pushing him to ban ghost guns. What did he do? He banned ghost guns. What did he do the following year? He opened up the White House Gun Prevention Office for the first time in U.S. history. And again, we've invited President Biden here multiple times, one to help Governor Hochul campaign, which he did. He came and she won, and one to be at Westchester Community College. I shared the stage twice with the president. Right. And rode Air Force One and Marine One with him. What are we talking about? That's what I'm saying. They lying. And they ain't trying to say, I'm trying to cut SSI when I've been a champion for SSI since I got in. And why would I want to cut something that disproportionately hurt Black and brown people? Including my mother when she was still alive and my father. Like it is, but it's so much propaganda and it's so much money. It's record money. Historically, whenever Black people or people of color, marginalized people speak up, what do? It's backlash. They come out.
Exactly.
And so thank God, like I said, most of our people see through it, and most people, not just Black people, most people see through it. We need everybody to see through it because again, where's my opponent's record as it deals with building Black political economic power or the political and economic power of people of color in Westchester? It doesn't exist.
That's right.
It doesn't exist.
Let me. Now, there's one thing. Your opponent, who is the county exec, which is literally the CEO of Westchester, he talks about you take credit for things you had nothing to do with. I want you to explain, sometimes I explain things to people, how Congress works. Yeah. Like you're one of how many votes? You know what I'm saying?
535. 435 in the House, 100 in the Senate.
So there are bills that y'all speak on, y'all build on, y'all negotiate or whatever, even if you didn't author it. Because the biggest thing I'm hearing is you 100%. Didn't offer no bills. You didn't offer, stuff like that. So I want you to speak on that stuff.
So we've introduced over 50 bills, amendments, and resolutions since getting into Congress. We passed a historic resolution condemning the Great Replacement theory, which is a white supremacist theory that's anti-Semitic and anti-Black. We passed that for the first time in history when I was a freshman, okay? Never been done before. And as I mentioned, the work we've done on the Chips and Science Act. But to your point, when I first got to Congress, I ran for and got elected the Vice Chair of Education and Labor. The first bill we worked on when I got there was the American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan had major equity investments as it relates to education, meaning lower income school districts got more money than wealthy school districts. Don't you know, as the Vice Chair of Ed and Labor and as a 20-year educator and as a former principal, I had my hands all over that bill to make sure it was rooted in equity, to make sure that New York City, Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and New Rochelle in particular got more money than Rye and Scarsdale and other areas because it was focused on equity.
Right.
And so that's what people need to understand. A bill is introduced. That bill goes to committee. In committee, we all look at the bill and we say, okay, we need to change this, change that, change that, change that. It's called a markup. Then we offer amendments to the bill. Let's add this amendment, let's add this amendment. Some are accepted, some are rejected. Then we debate the bill in committee. Then we vote on the bill. Then the bill leaves committee and goes to the House floor for a full vote. If it gets a full vote on the House floor, it then goes to the Senate to get a supermajority vote, not 51-49, because the Senate has the racist filibuster. So it needs a 60-40 majority. It's rare to get the 60-40 majority because most of the Republicans who represent Republican states are representing the Confederate racists in those states. So when my opponent speaks about working across the aisle, he's
Exactly.
literally talking about working with Confederates who don't want to do shit for Black and brown people
Exactly.
or poor people. He
Right.
would be
Or poor white.
Manchin. He would be another Joe Manchin in the House.
Right.
Now, so when you talk about me being in office 3 years versus him 35, first of all, of course, you in office 35 years, you have quote unquote done more. You've been there longer, but you've only worked in bodies of politics that need a simple majority to make policy law. In Congress, you need a super majority in the Senate because of the filibuster. So the fact that I've even gotten the CHIPS and Science Act under my belt in just 3 years, which is the president's signature bill, is transformational. In addition to other things through my advocacy that we have pushed forward, like affordable housing, like reducing gun violence, like the community project funding we've brought back from Mount Vernon sewage, for the safe place for our girls, for the youth shelter, for the school district, on and on and on and on. It's a joke, honestly, to be like, he hasn't done anything since he's been in office. That's crazy.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. I wanted you to break that down because we don't have civics no more. Back in days when I was a kid, we had that I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill. I'm sitting here in Capitol. It broke down how the process works for kids. We don't have that no more. So when they make statements and you see an individual who, again, is like the CEO of Westchester, who can unilaterally do a lot of things that you can't do like that in Congress.
Well, this is a really good point. The county executive of Westchester is literally the CEO of Westchester. He is the boss. He is the president. He is the governor. He is the mayor of Westchester. He is the executive. He sets the agenda. He sets the budget. So as the county executive, you have the power to do so much for communities that have been left behind. Let's take one example. The Armory in Mount Vernon. Ever since it's been closed down, seniors have been begging for that armory to be reopened. If my man prioritized seniors and prioritized Mount Vernon, where he says he was born and raised, he keeps saying that every time he talked, but then he ran a ride and never came back. So prioritizing Mount Vernon, prioritizing seniors, prioritizing people of color, invest the money needed to rebuild the armory in Mount Vernon, as one example. And it's not only about rebuilding it as a senior center, it's about rebuilding it as a intergenerational 21st century community center that provides help for seniors, that provides help for children and families, that provides workforce development, that provides everything that you need for upward mobility. That's how you deal with the issue of structural discrimination. And so he doesn't know how to do that because he's rooted in a status quo pay-to-play politics. That's why he's bought and paid for by AIPAC. And this is no disrespect. He's just not fit for the job in that regard because he doesn't have an aspirational vision for our district. That's why he's against reparations. That's why he's against a Green New Deal. That's why he's against Medicare for all. He doesn't have an aspirational vision for the country. Right. And in contrast, forget my work in Congress. Before I even got to Congress, I opened my own district public middle school in the Northeast Bronx and ran it for 10 and a half years as a principal. And one of those years, it became the highest performing middle school in New York City, a school district that has 1.1 million kids. Like, I'm very proud of that. And it's an example of how I have built things out of thin air and made them excellent for our community. Where is my opponent's record on doing any of this?
Right.
And we've replicated it with the Westchester Youth Shelter, with their new Youth Heal program. We supported it with Judge Rice, not governor yet, Judge Rice in New Rochelle, with this court innovation program. We replicated it with the Bronx Health Community Network. We gave them $2.5 million to build a community health center. We replicated it with the YWCA Workforce Development Program, 780,000. We could literally go down the list. We could talk for 3 hours about new programs that weren't in existence before, and only in 3 years in Congress I got that done. He has no record of this, which is like, why are we even? He's not even fit for this.
I want one last thing I want to ask, because I know Damon got some stuff. So, and I'm speaking from experience doing a publication like Black Westchester. You know, you get questions like, "Oh, why are we only concerned with the black people?" You know, we would get more if we take the word black out of. You know what I'm saying? The reason we started this was to fill the void in covering black people in Westchester that hadn't been addressed. I say that to say to you, you're accused of only caring about black and brown people. You understand what I'm saying? And not caring about the rest of the district. And you explained in the debate questions that you care about the whole district, but you're paying more attention to the marginalized areas who don't get attention. I want to give you a chance to speak to that.
Yes. So thank you for the question. So yes, I govern for the entire district and have relationships with the entire district. We've given thousands of dollars to Rybrook for their sewage problem. We've given the county $500,000 to electrify their buses. We've worked with Tuckahoe and Arsley and Mamaroneck and Hastings. These are all majority white municipalities on economic development projects and infrastructure projects through money and, again, through advocacy. We have done that. When Scarsdale High School had a social justice day of action, they brought me in as a keynote speaker. When a young man lost his life to suicide in Rye High School, they asked me to come in and meet with the teachers and families and kids just so I could get a sense of what was going on, so I could advocate for more mental health resources at Rye High School. I partnered with a teacher at Scarsdale High School and their design thinking entrepreneurship program so that we could bring it to Mount Vernon High School and have it implemented this year, which they have just finished doing. And so not only do we govern for everybody, we're bridging the gap between Scarsdale and a place like Mount Vernon, so resources could be shared so the people in Mount Vernon have the same access as opportunities in Scarsdale. Right. And yes, because of issues of equity and population and need, we pay a little extra attention to Yonkers, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, and the Bronx. Why? Because if we don't have equity, we don't have a democracy. I don't want people in Larchmont to turn on News 12 and hear about a kid getting shot in Mount Vernon. One, is traumatic for them, but two, it like puts a perception in their mind of what they think Mount Vernon is.
Exactly.
And what they think kids in Mount Vernon are doing, right? And it causes them to stay away. I want to end gun violence in the district. I want to end poverty in the district. I want to make sure everyone has access and opportunity to the American dream in the entire district. So that's going to require equity, especially, no disrespect, let's just be honest, my predecessor didn't focus on racial justice and equity.
Right.
And so that's why you have the neglect. If you go to the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon or the YMCA in New Rochelle, or YMCA, in Yonkers, YWCA in Yonkers, different parts of the district Black, brown people live, it's underdeveloped, and it's been underdeveloped for decades. So they need additional investment. That's what they need. And so I'm here to hopefully advocate for that and provide that. My opponent doesn't even know how to do that, because when he had the chance to do it, listen, if he were to be in Congress, he has no budget. I don't have a budget. I don't have a bank account. Every dollar we bring, we hustle and grind for it through partnerships. Right. He has a $2.3 billion budget every year that he could be implementing. But you know what he's doing? He's lowering taxes, property taxes for Rye and Scarsdale, and raising them for Yonkers and Mount Vernon. Property taxes have gone up under his leadership by 20% in Yonkers and by 40% in Mount Vernon, while they've gone down for Rye, where he lives, and Scarsdale.
That's right.
That's not anti-racist representation.
That's right. You're absolutely right. What do you tell young people of all races, but especially young black and brown people who, when they live in these demarginalized communities and they hear the rhetoric of the local politicians that come out only on election day, and they feel that even though they have someone who look like them, because I really feel, brother, that we have to represent for our youth so they can see people of color in power positions. They can see black men in power positions that are not bending over to the power structure, and we know we go through whatever we go through to represent that. But what do you tell young people, that say, man, if I vote, it really don't mean nothing. Why should I vote? Because that's what they're banking on for them to say that. What do you tell young people to come out, on June 25th and vote for you, and what that represents to them for the future?
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is if you don't vote, you're giving your power away to somebody else. You're actually giving power to someone to have over you and to control things in your life that you have completely no say in, because you didn't vote and because you didn't hold the people accountable that you voted in after you voted them in. And so I say that, but then I also empathize because I get it. The system has been so harmful to us historically. It's been harmful to young people. It's been harmful to people of color. It supports the wealthy. It supports special interests. So it's harmful to us. So we want to stay away from it. But the only way to change it is to vote and be involved. You can't just vote and leave. You got to vote and hold me accountable. So what does that mean? That means calling my office. That means writing to my office. That means following up. That means tweeting at me if I'm not responding. That means engaging with me and working with me so that we can govern together. The reason why, and I keep going back to this program, the Youth Heal program was created at Westchester Youth Shelter, is because I wanted to learn more about that program. They wanted to meet their new congressman. We met, I learned about the program, and then I learned about this other program in the city, and we bridged the gap between those two programs to create a new program. And so I empathize, I get it. The system hasn't worked for us, but if you don't vote, you're playing right into their hands. You're giving power to fascism, and you're giving power to people who just want to have power over you. And I'm glad you said not just young people of color, but all young people. So we were just endorsed by the Irish Echo, which is a major organization in the Irish community, particularly in Yonkers and the Bronx. And the brother wrote his reasoning for endorsing me, and he pointed out two things. One, my focus on education and children, which that's my life's work. Education, children, no matter what, I'm always going to do that work. But then two, he focused on me having the courage to speak out on Palestine and speak out against the occupation. And what I need people to understand, if we allow the oppression of Palestinians to continue, it's the same way, it's as if we allowing the oppression of Black and brown people here. And it's the same system that is oppressing children in the Congo with slave labor. It's the same system that is oppressing the people of Haiti and Sudan and Central and South America. It's Western imperialism. It's white supremacy as an ideology. And so we should be fighting back against all systems of oppression, period. And this way of thinking, us versus them, is binary, infantile way of thinking. We can have safety and security and freedom and equality and humanity and clean housing and clean water and healthcare for everyone. We just have to work for it and fight for it. And conceding that we can't have that because it's too aspirational, it's mind-boggling and destructive to our democracy.
I just want to say real quick, as far as Palestinian, so back in the 60s, Malcolm X, the Panthers, and even Martin Luther King talked about the occupation in Palestine, how it was akin to the occupation of black people here and how we had more in common. They were saying this in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? These elements were, the FBI had them down on terrorist watch lists. You know what I'm saying? But this is something they were saying we have to fight for this across the board, occupation of anything. And there was a relationship between what we were going through and the long-term occupation of Palestinians. They've been saying that since probably before the 60s, but I've heard all three say that, especially the Panthers, especially Malcolm.
100%, and Kwame Ture as well, and many others. Like the 60s was about civil rights here, and it was about anti-war around the world, but particularly in Vietnam, and it was anti-occupation. And so we are all children of that. We all come from that. Our legacy, particularly the legacy of black people in this country, is a legacy of fighting for civil rights, fighting for human rights, fighting, for abolition, fighting for the things that we need as a country to make the country realize its ideals, the things that Dr. King not just spoke about in the I Have a Dream speech, but the things that he spoke about later on in his life when he talked about fighting against racism, capitalism, and militarism. And so our responsibility, not just as black people, but as Americans, as human beings, is to continue that fight. The fact that my opponent, who's a so-called lifelong Democrat, is allowing Trump billionaire donors to fund his campaign and is doing fundraisers with Trump billionaire donors and is endorsed by an organization that is mostly Republican MAGA billionaire funded. The fact that he is doing that shows you that he cares more about himself winning this election and maintaining the power structure status quo in American politics. He is not about serving the people of this district who are mostly working class, mostly people of color, who are severely rent burdened, who are underemployed, who don't have access to health care, who are fighting against gun violence, on and on and on and on. And I keep telling people, he's not going to be able to do as much in Congress if he were there that he could be doing right now as county executive. How has your life, anyone, been positively impacted by him as county executive? How has your life been positively impacted by Jamaal Bowman, who's only been in office 3 years? And if we weren't having an impact, they wouldn't be spending more money to get us out than has ever been spent in primary history. This is a historic election, everybody. So all that, I can't get out to vote. You need to get out to vote in record numbers to make sure the power elite and all their money don't buy this seat. Because I guarantee you, if they're able to do that, my opponent is honored by developers. How do you think they're going to try to move us out and develop this district differently than what they're currently doing right now?
I want to say, I'm giving you last words, but I definitely want to say, so we supported George. We supported him when he ran for CE. We supported a lot of his policies. And what it comes down for me as the editor of Black Westchester is someone who represents my interests. And that's what we should all be about, what represents our interests. And as a black man, I wholeheartedly endorse you for standing up unapologetically for our community.
Absolutely.
And whether it's not popular, you can't be pro-black and you've got to be anti-something else. We live that every day. You know what I'm saying? So for us and for our community, I'm telling everybody to go out and vote for you for re-election, and that Black Westchester is openly and wholeheartedly endorsing you so you can continue to work, so you can continue to fight for our communities that have not been fought for before. And I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes, sir.
David, I know you want, we got
I got two more things, brother, and then we're gonna let you go. You were just endorsed by Blacks in Law Enforcement of America and the Westchester Correctional Association. You just got that. I thought I saw you, sent you the text, but I wanted to address that, along with telling you the endorsement. I had to correct some ill-informed officers who say that you're anti-police and you want to the whole defunding the police thing has
They say you want to eliminate the police.
that got misrepresented in understanding the importance of law enforcement in the community and even the importance of correction officers, and that you spoke out for the safety of Rikers Island and the safety not only for the inmates but for the officers too. Can you expound on that? And then I want to introduce this sister here, because you are part of education, and we're down here in Jamaica, man. We get ready to work with Sandals and give free books and come out and talk to the kids. So address that, and then I want to introduce the sister here.
Yes. So thank you for that. And it's really exciting to hear about those endorsements. So police are a very important part of our overall public safety equation. Okay. I support police officers, respect them doing the work, and will continue to support them and respect them. All we have talked about is one, accountability, because if officers aren't doing the right thing, just like teachers, just like other professions, there needs to be accountability. But more importantly, we need to make sure we are helping our officers with things like investing more in mental health in the community, investing more in substance abuse in the community, investing more in education, investing more in affordable housing, so that the crime doesn't happen in the first place. What we're doing, the same thing we do in education. We just, force police to handle every issue that comes into the community. And as we force them to handle every issue, mistakes are going to happen that's going to be catastrophic, and it's going to look bad on police. But if we take a more holistic approach to public safety, that yes includes police, but also includes mental health supports, substance abuse supports, housing supports, education supports, then we make the overall community safer, and we keep police safe, because police need mental health supports as well, right?
That's right.
And we respond to the disease of recidivism that happens in our public safety spaces, where we just rearresting the same people over and over and over again because we're not doing nothing on rehabilitation. And so it has to be a holistic approach to public safety. If we do that, it makes everyone safer. So yeah, man, I appreciate you making that argument for me out there, because that's what it is. That's the truth.
Exactly.
Like, we're not trying to abolish the police. It's not what we're trying to do. Those who are doing the right thing, we support. Those who not, they need to be held accountable, and overall take a holistic approach so that we could keep everybody safer going forward.
Absolutely. So I'm down here in Jamaica, right? And the sister came up, and my wife, she always make friends everywhere we go. And the sister came up and she told us about a program that Sandals is doing within the community of Jamaica, and that anybody can be involved. So I told her, and my wife told her, that we're going to take part in what's going on in dealing with the school system and helping to get books, book bags, and other school equipment. So introduce yourself, sis.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I'm very happy to be here today. My name is Keish Beckford, and I am the Public Relations Coordinator here at Sandals Duns River, and I manage the Sandals Foundation. Now, the Sandals Foundation, it is our non-profit organization, and that is where we do all of our charity work here. So the Sandals Foundation, we really try to focus on our environment as well as our community, but I think we prioritize education a lot here, right? So at Sandals, we do believe that education is the cornerstone of progress, and because of that, we see it as extremely important. And we're in our communities, we're in our schools, we're giving back as much as possible to really make a change in our children's life. And so far, we're having great results. Our children love it, right? When our guests come, they will do this program. It is called Pack for a Purpose. Now, you can go to packforapurpose.org if you plan to visit any Sandals property. You can pack one book, one pencil, that one book and that one pencil makes a huge difference to our children. So no matter what it is, it doesn't matter the quantity, it's the quality of the product. And our children really appreciate it, right? So that is the pack for a purpose. Now, if you're at any Sandals resort and you visit our resort shop, you will see a Sandals Foundation section there. If you shop at that section, all of the proceeds go to the Sandals Foundation. Now, in December, we had renovated a bathroom at one of our schools that we adopted, right? So we completely changed out all the toilets, all the showers, we retiled, and we made sure when the children returned in January after the Christmas break, they had a new bathroom to come to school. And we find that as very important because once you're inspired, right? Once you're in the right area, the right, environment, you can learn better, right? So anything, any donations, we accept them, right? We accept anything. We also have our address where we will give to our guests when they're leaving, and they can send any packages to that, and we will handle all the shipping and the handling here to Jamaica, which is completely amazing. Right? So thank you so much for listening.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
really an honor.
We wanted to bring her on because we're definitely, we're definitely going to do some things down here, man. This is Sandals is my home away from home, man. And so if I could get a chance to come down here and go talk to the kids and get my wife to talk to the kids about law enforcement and what Black law enforcement is in America and how we represent our people there. It's a great thing. And I told her that you would be on the show, brother, and you're an educator.
Yes.
So I know you would enjoy what Sandals is doing. And after you win, brother, we can make it happen down here.
We gotta make it happen. So good to meet you, sister. Thank you for sharing that. And absolutely, I'm a lifelong educator of 20 years. I think I mentioned before. I was a teacher, school counselor, middle school principal for 10 years right here in this district. I don't know if Damon told you, like this district, there's a very, 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 very large Jamaican community, West Indian community overall. And so that collaboration just makes sense to be a part of that. So let's definitely follow up and chat after June 25th when we win this election, after we get out record numbers of people to go out and vote. So we definitely got to follow up.
That's right. And anything we got Wagstaff. We got Wagstaff holding it down, sitting in the back. I see you, brother. We gonna bring him on and he's gonna be because we betting on Black. Like we betting on Black the whole election. We betting on Black. So
let me comment
as we close out, brother.
Yeah.
What's the last words you want to say with people, man?
Yeah, so it's really important to make this point, right? Like, we're not anti any community.
That's right.
So we work in collaboration with every community in the district, even the Jewish community, although my opponent and his supporters continue to try to paint me as anti-Semitic. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize the state of Israel. That is not anti-Semitic. We are not criticizing the Jewish people. We are criticizing the state, particularly Benjamin Netanyahu and his behavior towards the Palestinians, right? That is what we're doing. We work in collaboration with Jewish communities. Bend the Arc, Americans for Peace Now, If Not Now, Jewish Voices for Peace, Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. Like, we work closely with these organizations throughout the district and beyond. So we're not anti any group of people. We just think it's really important to make sure that equity and humanity are central parts of our governance, which means communities that have been left behind, people of color, young people, Black people, disabled people, et cetera, have to be a central part of our focus and have to have a seat at the table so that we can govern together to make the entire community better. This entire district is a representation of America. It's incredible diversity, but it's also incredible segregation, racial and economic. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so we have to build a cohesive community together, which means everyone needs to be strong. So we're going to continue to uplift marginalized areas because they need to be strong, man. That's the bottom line. And then last thing I'll say, just one more thing about my opponent. I think it's despicable and deplorable that this person is running ads clearly targeting Black people with certain, Black faces in the ads, but did not attend the NAACP forum.
That's right.
Did not attend the NAACP forum in the Bronx. Hasn't come on to Black Westchester.
That's right.
And
That's right.
And you feed our people propaganda, but you can't face them directly and answer tough questions. That is the most despicable thing for me about this campaign. And by the way, the Black History event, you said I take money from Hamas, and you continue to allude to me being associated with bad characters in the Muslim community. So it's not just an exercise in anti-Black racism, it's anti-Muslim racism as well. And so we all got to come out and vote in big numbers, rise above that, and do everything we can to win this election, not for me, but for us, because we got to show the district, the country, and the world that we are the many, we are the people, we decide the direction of our district and our country, not big money in politics. We don't care how much money you spend.
I just want to say in closing, so in the two pre-primary issues we did, one of the things we did was talk to many people in the district. And what I was very much pleased to find out, there were Jewish residents that support you. There were Muslim residents that support you. There were all kinds, it was just like you're getting painted as this person that only does for Black and brown, but all of these people that are not Black and brown, including the reason for Latimer running is because, you know what I'm saying, the Jewish people are unhappy with you. There were a lot of Jewish people that I spoke to, including a long list of Jewish people who wrote a list to the county exec and told him not to run. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to point that out. I wish you well. Like I said, Black Westchester wholeheartedly endorses you. And our decision to endorse comes down to what's best for our interests. AIPAC is doing what's best for their interests. Other people do what's best for their interests, but nobody talks about what's our interests. And that's where we stand as Black Westchester, news with the Black point of view, what's best for our interests. And we believe that's you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate y'all. Peace and love, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, let's get out to vote, brothers. Appreciate y'all.
No doubt, no doubt.